everyone. Welcome to this interview today. I'm Bianca, a content executive from Trip 101. And today we have another episode of our Travel Talk series. So, this is where we talk to local tour guides from cities and regions all across the world. And we get a lot of useful and in depth information about their regions, the places that they've been to, and where they offer tours. And we get that information to make traveling a lot easier and more enjoyable for our viewers or our readers. And today we're talking to Stephanie, a licensed tour guide in the Four Corners of the United States. And today in particular, we're talking about Denver. So, Stephanie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name is Stephanie, and I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, the United States. And it's about an hour and 15 minutes or so south of Denver. So when I fly in and out, and it's an international airport, Denver is one of the best, newest airports that the United States has, and it's always cleaning itself up and developing it and more terminals. And so I always enjoy flying out of Denver. So that's where I am.
That's great. Yeah, and I read on your profile that you've been in the tour industry for almost 20 years.
Correct. I lived in New York City when I started this business, and I had other careers prior to this, and I love the travel industry. My other career had me traveling all the time. So I became licensed in New York and as well as Washington, D.C., and did a lot of city tours along the Eastern Seaboard and then up into Canada. But then I just didn't want to live in New York City anymore. I wanted to move west and be in the country. So that's when I came to Colorado. And now I do Colorado as well as the national parks from the Mississippi West and from Alaska down to southern Utah.
Yeah, so you cover a pretty big region then.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, since you mentioned flying into Denver, maybe we can start about getting to Denver and getting around, just so when readers land there, they know exactly what to do once they get there.
Sure. Where the airport is about a 45 to 50-minute drive outside of Denver.
Mhm.
So there's no easy way to get into Denver, but they've made it pretty convenient. There is a train, a metro that goes from the airport straight into downtown Denver. It's a $10 ticket, so it's the most effective and convenient way to travel into the city. But if you have luggage and a lot of stuff, it would be cumbersome because you'd be on a
Yeah.
train. So in that case, there's Uber and cabs, and the cost of a cab is about $150 one way.
Mhm.
Now, if you have four people, there would be an added passenger cost to that. But if you have an Uber, there's Uber and Lyft, and those have specific pickup locations at the airport. So
Mhm.
it's very convenient to find. It's a massive airport, but the staff there is very user friendly, and they give you exact directions on how to get to the Uber and the app Lyft designated pickup locations.
Okay, yeah.
So if you download those apps, you and they have a reservoir of drivers that are there. So you might only have to wait about 5 or 10 minutes before you have a driver show up.
Okay, that's great. That sounds really efficient to
It
get to
is.
the city. Yeah. Okay, so once travelers arrive and they get to that airport, are there any nearby places near Denver that they should stop by, maybe for a day trip?
Oh, well, they've landed in Denver, and if they're from an international, foreign country, there is a money exchange there that would probably be the best place to go, simply because they have most current exchange rates.
Yeah.
And once they left there and then got into Denver and checked into your hotel, there are so many places to go within one day.
Mhm.
It's just pick what you want to do. If you want to be outside in nature, there's the Continental Divide, the Front Range, the Rocky Mountains, and then on the other side of the Continental Divide, you have the Western Slope, which has Vail, Colorado, Breckenridge, Aspen, Glenwood Springs, all of the big ski resorts are on the western slope. So if you come in the winter, this is where everybody goes.
Mhm.
And there's transportation that goes to each resort. So if you wanted to go, let's say, to Beaver Creek, there are specific transports that would take you right to that resort. But then in the summer, if you wanted to rent a car, you could, very easily rent a four-wheel drive vehicle at the airport and just take off and go straight to, let's say, Steamboat Springs, which is almost to Wyoming. And there's a saying that says the winters is what brings you to Colorado, but it's the summers that keep you.
Mhm.
And because it's just so beautiful in the summer months in Colorado. So that's if you wanted to do nature kind of things. If you wanted to do theater or museums, then staying in Denver, you could find plenty of things to explore in the city of Denver if you chose
Mhm.
to do that.
Are there any specific museums that you could recommend?
Well, the Denver Museum, there's the Denver Botanical Gardens. Last time I was there, they had a beautiful Chihuly exhibit throughout the entire garden. There's the Denver Zoo. There's Elitch. If they came with a family, there's Elitch Gardens, which is an amusement park, giant amusement park. And so right in Denver proper, there are plenty of things to do if you're a museum person, if you're a sports person. This is the arena where that you have basketball, baseball, ice hockey. All of those arenas are right there in Denver as well. Um, it's a beautiful city. It's a mile high city, and you could be in Denver alone for 2 or 3 days and have something to do every day.
Oh, that sounds great. Like it sounds like a city for everyone.
It is. It's a very youthful city, very outdoor, active city.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, most everybody there rides bikes, go skiing, mountain climbing, hiking. It's a very, very, very active city, youthful, but even senior citizens are very youthful. They're very fit. It's a fit
Yeah,
city.
that's great. So, with all these attractions, what do you think is the best way for tourists to get around the city to visit all these different places?
I would suggest that if you had a set itinerary, like let's say in the morning you knew you wanted to go to the botanical gardens,
Mhm.
to just take an Uber. Um, Seriously, because you would want to get there. You wouldn't want to take the bus system. There is a bus system, and you have a pass that you could buy for that. But then there's no direct route that would take you to certain things. It's more of getting from one part of the city to another. Then you would have to walk to the actual location.
I see.
So right. So I would suggest just hiring a cab and then charting out your itinerary according to that. If you stayed in downtown Denver, um, which is where there's museums, there's the Coors baseball field, restaurants. There is a free trolley that goes in the Triangle area, which is the theater district, the financial district, and the sports district. And it's a free trolley that goes. It's the 16th Street Mall, and all you do is hop on, hop off, and there's no charge at all. But it's only in that area that is downtown Denver. If you wanted to go out, then you would have to, rent a cab or something.
Okay, yeah. And for the trolley, is there a schedule for that?
It goes up and down. It's 24 hours.
Okay.
Uh, during the day, it runs more frequently. I would say probably about every 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trolley that comes by, and it goes to one point, and then it stops, and then there's another one. But they both run both ways. So yeah, and they're air conditioned, and they're handicap accessible too.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. And would you say that the trolley is crowded?
Sometimes, yes, because the theater district's down there. They have Broadway shows that come down there, the ballet and operas. And a lot of times people get on that trolley
Hmm.
from Larimer Square, which is right in that same district. And it's where all the great restaurants are. and you can have any cuisine at all. It's just pick your choice. And reservations, of course, are always recommended because it's very, popular, and you want to make sure you can dine, jump on the trolley, and get to the theater or get to the baseball game. Yeah, it's all very user friendly.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So you mentioned the bus. Are there any special passes that travelers would need to get?
There is the you could probably get your passes there at the airport,
Mhm.
um, because the train that that takes you from the airport to downtown Denver stops at Union Station. That's where it ends, and that's where you could get bus passes. You could get a day pass, a week pass, a month pass. This is where locals would get their bus passes as well.
Oh,
So if you wanted to get like a 3-day pass, you would get it at Union Station, which is again right downtown, right?
okay.
Yeah.
And that pass, would it only be for buses or it includes trains as well?
Um, there's no real train system and there's no subway system
Oh, I
in
see.
Denver. In
Okay.
Denver.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that's good to know, just in case anyone was wondering as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, well, the one train that they do have is the train that goes from the airport to downtown.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a big.
So yeah. What about if anyone wants to drive into the city from the airport? Can travelers easily rent cars?
Absolutely. It's You have all of the big car rental places, that are nationally known in Hertz, Enterprise, all of them.
Mhm.
And the way that you would do that, because it's such a big airport, you would get on a shuttle that would take you to the car rental place, which is not close to the
Oh,
airport.
okay.
So you would drive about, in a shuttle, about maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get to the location where all the car rentals are. And they're very, very efficient. They speak multiple languages, um, and they all take credit cards. And when you walk onto the lot, you can pretty much choose because I do this when I'm driving um, to different places. Um, and I choose a certain type of car, like a mid-size economy, car. And there's maybe 15 of them, and I can choose whichever one I want.
Mhm.
So, if I want a red one or a blue one, it's like, oh, I get to choose a color. So
Oh, so
very
even
convenient.
down to the color you can choose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay,
And
that's
then when you return, you can return it to the same location. And then again, so then you would get on the bus from the parking lot to the terminal. And so it's the same both ways.
okay. Yeah. So in case there are any international travelers going to Denver, would they need a driving permit, a special permit, so they can rent a car?
No, passport, just your passport.
Just a passport.
Valid driver's license and your passport. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So you've mentioned already a lot of the ride sharing apps. So I think you mentioned Uber and Lyft. Would you
Mhm.
recommend either one as being cheaper or safer?
I I prefer Lyft.
Mhm.
Um, simply because the app is easier to use, and you can call the driver from that app. To me, it's just more user friendly to me. I have it hooked into my credit card. If there's ever a problem, um, it's right there. The tip is included. Tipping is a thing that the United States does,
Mhm.
and you can add the tip before you leave the car, and it goes directly to the driver. Um, and I've never had a bad ride with Lyft, and it's Lyft, Lyft.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good to know. So maybe that's a better option for travelers to use.
I think so. I think so. But if they have Uber already, on their phone, and they're used to Uber, that's great too. It's just my preference is Lyft.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the thing I was going to suggest that like if somebody came to Denver and they were wanting to set up their own little tour and go to um go down to Colorado Springs and then back up to Denver and then maybe up to Boulder where all the beer making is and everything, that there is an app, you might know of this, called Rome to Rio.
Yeah. They have a website as well, right?
It's very, very good, and it would
Mhm.
be a good identifier for different transportation modes and timing and all that. So that's used here as well.
Okay, yeah. That would be a great app to download, I think, if you're visiting the
Right.
city.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of great information about transportation. And earlier you mentioned something about food. So that's actually something I'm excited to talk about, the food scene in Denver. So what would you say is the best local food to try there?
Well, it's an international community, so you can have any type of food, seriously, that that you want, and all of it is very, very highly rated. But I would say if you were coming to this area and you want to try a local that dish, that would be bison. Um, like they have bison steak, bison burgers, and it is a very tender, kind of a sweeter meat. It's very popular, and but that would have to be going to a restaurant, like an American restaurant, that would specifically offer bison. And
Mhm.
there's a difference between bison and buffalo. So bison is here, buffalo is in another part of the world, and it's all locally sourced. And some of the restaurants have food, like farm to table. So everything is fresh that day.
So what do you think are the best food markets or the popular restaurants in Denver?
Well, there's more of an area, a location, and this is talking about downtown Denver.
Mhm.
So in this particular area, it's about 3 blocks, and it's a beautiful street. It's one street. It's called Larimer Square, but it's one street, and it's about 4 blocks long. And at night, the street is lit up with like strings of light, and there's always a bunch of flowers, and it's just a beautifully romantic energy there. You have the mountains in the backdrop. Some restaurants have the roof view, so when you go up on the roof, you have the mountains at one side, and the other side you're looking at the plains.
Yeah.
It's really spectacular. So it would just, I know I'm not being specific because there's just so many. You could go just walk in the street and walk in any restaurant, and it would be, I mean, if you're looking at steakhouse or fish or sushi or um, Korean barbecue or Italian, any cuisine you would want, you'd be able to find it there. It's very walkable to any of the hotels, and it's also right off of the trolley line. It crosses right there. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Do you have any particular favorite restaurant in that area?
I knew you were going to ask me that. It's hard to have a favorite. There's and I'm a visual person. So my children and I love sushi. We love Japanese food.
Mhm.
And there's one that's there. I am sorry, but I can't remember the name of it. But there's one that we go to all the time, and it has the freshest, most delicious sushi, as well as other Japanese, gyoza, seaweed salads and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, usually I just ask my client what kind of food do they like, and then
Mhm.
we discuss the different restaurants, and then we go.
Okay, that's great. So that's part of your offered tours as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what about convenience stores? Are there any ones you recommend going to so travelers can pick up some snacks or maybe travel essentials?
Well, convenience stores, they're all over downtown, and there is one that is also a pharmacy, and it has, like snacks and water and non-alcoholic type of things. It's called CVS. And you can go in there and you can get pretty much everything. And most of them are open 24 hours. And they're like every other block. You can find a CVS.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds really convenient.
Yeah. And because sometimes, when you're in Denver, remember you're at altitude, you're over 5,000 feet because you're on the Colorado Plateau. And
Uh-huh.
people that fly in, dehydration and altitude sickness is a real thing. And so if you go into bars or something, you're going to have a glass of wine or something. And the first couple of days, you need to take it kind of slow. And so I always recommend for the travelers to make sure you hydrate, and not just with water, but something that has electrolytes.
Mhm.
Simply because electrolytes, it absorbs in your body differently, and it gets into your bloodstream rather than just water, and drinking so much water which you don't retain. And this is where you could get that product, would be at CVS.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So speaking of convenience like that, are there any food delivery apps that travelers can try out?
Yes, there are. These are apps that you can download. Uber Eats is
Oh,
one. Uber Eats, Grubhub, Nosh Delivery, and DoorDash.
okay.
These
So
are
there are a lot of options.
four. They're the highly recommended. You see them in their bicycles all the time delivering stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and there are a lot of options on these apps.
Absolutely. It's like, like the deli would have certain kind of things, and then the Grubhub would have different kinds of menu options. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. And the hotels are used to these coming in, these food delivery places, as well as there's just a regular, like a pizza place, stuff like that, that's local, that do that. But these are the main delivery.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. So since there are a lot of food options in Denver, whether it's through an app or a restaurant, are there a lot of vegan, vegetarian, or gluten-free food options available?
Every restaurant
Okay.
Every restaurant has that. And if you have celiac, um, uh, every restaurant, you just tell the waiter and they make sure that there's no bread on anything, croutons or whatever, So yes, every restaurant has that. That is a thing in the United States now.
Okay, so it's something they watch out for.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can just request once you make an order. Is that right?
Right. And on the menu, it has it notated that as GF or gluten free, or
Mm.
there's a vegan option that you ask the waiter, what is a vegan, and it's on the menu, but some people just want to be told what it is. So yes, every restaurant has that now.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And what about tap water? In Denver, is it something that you can drink?
You may, you may. Most water in the United States is clean and fresh. And sometimes when I just need it, I haven't got a bottle of water, I will drink it and it's fine. I always have my own water that I carry. Um, but everything is safe.
Okay,
Everything is, yeah.
okay, that's good to know. In my part of the world, it's not always the case.
Right.
Yeah. So what about for people who have pets or children? Are there any specific pet-friendly or kid-friendly restaurants that you would recommend?
Well, I would say, because Denver is a tourist town,
Mhm.
that all restaurants are kid and pet friendly.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
however, um, the pets need to be outside, so it's outdoor seating.
Mhm.
So it would be these restaurants, and it would be an outdoor situation, and kids are welcome at all restaurants. It's just that usually some restaurants, it's like self-selected. If it's a very high menu and a high cuisine, you usually don't see kids and pets in these restaurants,
Okay. Yeah.
you know But and if the pet has on its service jacket, if it's a service dog, then they can go inside the restaurant.
Okay, yeah. So just those pets and then the rest outside.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And that's the same way with shopping.
Mhm.
And if your pet is a service animal, they can go inside the grocery store or whatever.
Okay, yeah. And for these restaurants, since there's a lot of tourists coming to Denver, would you recommend that travelers make reservations before going to a restaurant?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
And how would they normally make the reservation?
There's a couple of ways, just go online, find the restaurant and call them, or there's Open Table, and it's a reservation app,
Mhm.
Open Table. And they just select the day, the time, the amount of people, and put their email in, and they submit, and then they get a confirmation back. And it gives them then the directions to the hotel as well. If you're somewhere in the city and you want to go there, it will give you the directions. And so it's a very good app, and it works very well. Open
Yeah,
Table
yeah. It sounds like Denver is very good at making things efficient.
is very good. Yeah, I
Okay.
love it.
So earlier you mentioned altitude sickness. So just in case, let's say a tourist coming to the city for the first time has an issue like that or any other kind of health issue that they need help with, are there any healthcare facilities that are available for tourists or foreigners in Denver?
Yes, absolutely. There's central hospitals,
Mhm.
and but then, for something like this, I mean, I would say for a hospital, that would be like if you're having a heart attack or something very serious like that. But if you're feeling like you have altitude sickness, or maybe you had a bug bite or something like that, um, there's urgent cares, and they are populated all through the city.
Okay.
And all you would do is just go urgent care near me, look, search it, and it gives you the location and the hours, because some aren't 24 hours. So and they're all over. Yeah.
Mm.
And most of the time they will, not most time, they will ask for insurance, medical insurance. Yeah.
Okay. Are there specific medical establishments that are known in Denver as trusted places to go?
For emergencies, I mean, there's Denver has many fine hospitals, like the Pulmonary Center, the Children's Hospital, they're big, state of the art hospitals. But for a traveler, I would just say if they had an emergency, they would just call 911,
Mhm.
and they would take them to the closest hospital that they are at. So if you're downtown, it might be one hospital, or because they would know the emergency room, it would take them to the hospital that is set up for emergencies.
Oh,
So the best track would be to just call 911, and they would be there immediately.
okay, sure. And what about simple painkillers or flu medicines that are available without a prescription? Is that something that travelers can find in Denver?
Yes, if they went to CVS,
Mhm.
they would be able to find that over the counter. There are, because of some new rules and laws in the United States, the like an antihistamine, because in Denver or Colorado, this area, there's a lot of pine and allergens that someone might not be used to, coupled with altitude sickness. You wouldn't know if you're getting the flu or if you're altitude sickness, you wouldn't be sure. You might have an allergic reaction to something. And some of these heavier antihistamines are with the pharmacist. So they're not just at the counter. You would have to go to the pharmacist and get a heavier prescription, not a prescription, a heavy dosage that's got some Sudafed,
Okay.
which is a heavier dose of an antihistamine, because it's a controlled substance. Um, and also because of the United States, and there's been a lot of just random theft at downtowns. Most pharmacies have all of their all of their inventory behind lock and key.
Mhm.
So you would have to get a salesperson to come and open up the case. So even if you want to get toothpaste, most everything is under lock and key now in the United States in big cities because people just come in and steal it.
Mhm. Okay.
So so that's a common thing. That would be something that they wouldn't feel like that it's like, what have I done to, to have somebody come and unlock this? It is a normal action now where you have to have somebody unlock the case to get whatever you want. I had to have them do that for nail files.
Oh,
So I'm
okay. Yeah.
like, okay. So
Okay, so there are some medications that you don't need prescriptions for, but you need to talk to the pharmacist for.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so talking about other essentials that travelers might need once they come to Denver, but would you recommend getting a local SIM card so they can stay connected?
That's a good question. Uh, yeah, you could buy a SIM card. Some phones don't take SIM cards. Like my Apple phone does not take a SIM card anymore. I have to, for international purposes, I just have to plan that out with my carrier,
Okay.
and the carrier has for that month or that whatever, I implement that plan so that my phone bill isn't ridiculous. And sometimes it's just for messaging and texting. It's not for calling. It's a
Mhm.
deal that I work out with my provider. So, because like I said, some phones don't have SIM cards anymore. It's a digital SIM card.
Yes, yeah.
Like it's in that kind of area. Um, but if they do have an older phone and they want a SIM card, that would be perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And do those SIM cards usually come with data as well?
No.
Okay, so just for call and text.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And if they are getting a physical SIM card, would you recommend getting it at the airport or maybe at a store somewhere else so it's cheaper that way?
I would say probably at the airport because you would have more of a selection
Mhm.
and people there that would know what to do. If you went to the CVS, they would be like, I don't know what they would have, anything available. And if you went to a phone company store, their product is so specific.
Mhm.
Um, so I would suggest probably doing that when you got your money exchanged so you have connection immediately.
Okay, sure. And since the local SIM cards don't come with data, so travelers can stay connected, are there Wi-Fi connections in most places? The restaurants offer it.
Yes. Restaurants, hotels, and sometimes you can even pick it up, on the street. There's just an open, Wi-Fi that's a free Wi-Fi. But if you go to a restaurant, they don't say, here's my Wi-Fi. You need to ask.
Okay, yeah.
They will provide you with the password. They will
Okay.
show you, there might be several things that Wi-Fi that pop up, and the one for the restaurant. So you just click on that one, and then the server or somebody would give you the password for that. They're very good about that.
Okay, yeah. And is the Wi-Fi offered for free?
Uh, Most of the time, yes, like in hotels, uh, 99% of the time, the Wi-Fi is free.
Mhm.
And I was just in a hotel on my last tour that I did, and it was in Las Vegas, oddly enough. And if you wanted Wi-Fi in your hotel room, so you could be on a computer, it was $15 a day. They
Okay.
didn't offer they didn't offer free Wi-Fi, but if you went into the lobby, you could have the free Wi-Fi.
Oh,
Um, every other hotel that I've been in the United States, your Wi-Fi is always free in your hotel room. So this might be a trend that they're changing. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, something good to watch out for, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so once you go to a restaurant or you're trying to buy a local SIM card or anything like that, is it better for tourists to use cash or a credit card for all these local transactions?
I would say a credit card.
Okay, credit card is better.
Yeah, because you get the correct pricing, and if you're doing cash and you're not sure of the money exchange, you're not sure if you're getting the right money back. Um, I would just I would say a credit card, and then you have a record of your purchases. And some cards I know do not do an international transaction fee.
Okay.
So if you choose whichever card that you want to bring, I know American Express does that, and I think the Chase Sapphire, both of those do not do international transaction fees. So yeah.
Oh, so are there any establishments that only accept cash or everywhere takes card?
Hardly anyone takes cash anymore. It's,
Okay.
it's hard to find people that, and they're like, "Oh, you've got cash." Yeah, so cash seems to be not prevalent. I mean, people will have some cash for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, everyone takes cash and everyone takes cards, but most people just do cards.
Okay, yeah. And just in case a traveler feels more comfortable transacting with cash, are there any places in the city where they can get the best exchange rates?
Um, I would probably go to any bank. You won't have a foreign currency exchange place that is just specific for that. Um, but if you went to like a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, any of those FDIC banks that we have here, they would be able to give you the best rates as well. An interesting um, location talking about money, the United States Mint is in Denver, where money is made, and
Oh,
people could do a tour there. It's free. They could go there for to check it out. They just have to make a reservation and stand in line, kind of a thing. But there's the Mint that's right there downtown.
oh, so you can watch them make the money?
See how it's made,
Mhm.
and it's primarily coins because it's the Mint. So it's fascinating. They make a lot of money there. There you go.
Yeah, it does sound really interesting.
Yeah, it's good. Mhm.
Okay, so maybe we can move on to other important traveler facts that they'd be interested in learning about once they come to the city. So for example, are there any medications or items that travelers should not bring into the country or are not allowed to bring into the country?
Well, illegal drugs, of course.
Mhm.
Not that. And if they do have prescription drugs, my advice is for them to keep them in the original bottles,
Okay.
because if they take it out and they combine or they put it in a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing, uh, that could be suspicious. So have them keep it in the original bottle with the original label, so it's labeled clearly.
Mm.
And if there's any question, they're fine.
Okay. Yeah. And so what about any common scams that tourists should watch out for in Denver?
This is kind of in every big city. You have people that want to sell you something, like a CD, or like I got a hip hop thing. I got a CD that's only $1, and you buy it. There's nothing on there or something, and then people, they may be dressed up in some funny costume and want you to take a picture with them, and because it could be a bear, it could be the blue bear from Denver. It's like an icon. You take a picture. Well, they want you to pay them for that picture. So my advice for all these people that are kind of buskers that are out on the street just trying to hustle for a dime or a dollar, just just to say no, thank you, and smile, and just keep walking. You don't need to be, like, get out of my way, you're rude, or anything like that. Just smile and say no, thank you, and keep walking.
Okay, yeah. Are there any specific parts of the city that are more prone to these kinds of experiences?
It's random. Like downtown, you will definitely have that along the free train.
Mhm.
Um, there will be people like that because they know it's a high tourist area.
Yes.
So there will be people that will be out there. Clearly, keep your wallet and your backpack and everything close to you because it is a big city, and it's that, pickpockets, people that will make grab and run, so I always have a cross that bag, not a shoulder bag. It goes across, and then I just swing it around in front and have it in front of me with everything in front. um, Nothing in back. I don't wear a backpack. I have a more smaller thing and keep it in front. um, yeah, so, and just, awareness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with these sort of experiences, would you still say that the city is safe for solo travelers or maybe female travelers?
Yes, yes. Of course, I wouldn't suggest, starting out your day at 11 o'clock at night if you're a solo female traveler. It's just common sense of things. And but for a solo female traveler, it's you see a lot of independent women in Denver, happily living their lives,
Mhm.
and as well as solo travelers. I work with a lot of solo female travelers, and most of them are experienced and they know how to maneuver themselves in large cities. um, but I try to just encourage them to be aware, and um, keep watching your feet, watch around you, keep your head up, and keep watching your phone, where your phone is and where your wallet is.
Okay, so let's move on to talking about the attractions and maybe some rules or best practices when people visit these attractions. So, do attractions or maybe even transportation options require booking passes in advance?
Certainly. So if you want to go to, let's say, the botanical gardens or to one of the museums, there is a modern art museum. A lot of them have timed entries,
Mhm.
simply because if it's high season, you can, say, I want to go in at 10 o'clock. Make sure you call, go online, make a reservation, pay
Okay.
for it. You scan tickets, and just hold your phone up and you can just go in. But yes,
Mhm.
uh, try to book reservations, like even if you want to go to the theater. um yeah, make sure you have all that booked, and I would say probably before you get to the city,
Okay. Yeah.
because day of, it might be too late.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned high season. Around what time of the year is that?
um Summer and winter.
Okay.
So like right now it's starting to come in high season all through Colorado, Denver, as well as the Western Slope, because there's music festivals, tons of music festivals, outdoor festivals. There's Renaissance fairs. Yeah, because it's an outdoor state.
Mhm.
And so, and then in the winter with the snow and the ski season, that's high season. Spring is low season. It's considered mud season.
Mhm.
So all the workers usually go down to the Caribbean or something. Yeah, and fall is transitional. But the summer and the winter, high season.
Okay. Yeah. So are there any religious attractions or maybe monuments in the city that have dress codes that apply for visitors?
Not really. Everything is very, very casual,
Mhm.
super casual. I mean, you have people that go to church or go to temple and they're in their hiking stuff because they're going to, as soon as they leave, they're gone. They're on the road, they're hiking, they're climbing, and even going to the theater. going to see the opera. Everything is very, very casual. Now, if you want to dress up, I encourage that, to bring something that is really fun to wear, some nice shoes, and just so you feel like you're dressing up. But for the most part, it's super casual.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so what are the places that you think that both tourists and locals would love to visit?
Okay, I would say locals and tourists would like to visit this an amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater called Red Rocks,
Mhm.
and it is where you can see um, many different kinds of musical groups. You could see there, sometimes there's opera, sometimes there's rock and roll, sometimes there's stand-up comedians, um, a whole variety of performers. It's all outside. It seats about 3,000 people, and it's in between two ginormous red rock cliffs,
Mhm.
and the seats are carved out of the stone, and you sit and you have the stars above you, you have the performers in front of you, and behind them you have the plains, so you're looking eastward. The mountains are behind you, and this is a place that locals and tourists both flock to. It's astounding. It's like, and it's beautiful to go there during the day or at night. Um, during the day, they have yoga classes there. They have the Olympic training skiing team trains there, so you see people training, and um, they have a lot of fundraisers there, so a lot of locals go there. And then it's a destination that people from all over the United States and sometimes around the world come to as a performance experience, so they can see their favorite band or someone perform.
Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful experience with the views and everything.
It's amazing. It's inspiring. It's because you're in the middle of these two huge cliffs, these red sandstone cliffs that are maybe, I don't know, 300 or 400 feet high. I mean, it's like astounding. So I would say that would be the main place to try to go to.
And is it open year round?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
365 days. And so it could be snowing,
Mhm.
and you would be sitting there and watching this performance go on. Yeah.
Is there a website or any reference where tourists can see the schedule?
Yep. It's called Red Rocks.
Mhm.
Red Rocks Amphitheater, and it has the whole schedule, buying tickets, the history. There's a rock and roll kind of Hall of Fame as a museum that's down there. You can have dinner there. Um, Parking is very, very good. And if you're in Denver and you want to go see something, they have shuttles that
Mhm.
go specifically to Red Rocks and then take you back to your hotel. So it's all, it's geared for for entertainment for the traveler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a great thing. Like I definitely add it to my itinerary if I was visiting.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any hidden gems in Denver that you'd recommend outside of the usual tourist spots?
Denver's a city,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got all the stuff that a city has, the museums, and um, one of the main attractions for people that are from different states in the United States or different parts of the country is that there is the medical cannabis establishments. There's a lot of stores now that have this as their retail, and so that's always kind of an attraction. But a gem, I would say, um, that if you, it's about, you'd have to get in a car, you have to drive in a car, and it's about maybe 45 minutes outside of Denver. and it's called Central City. And it was an old mining town, um, because the front range of the Rockies and then going up into the high part of the Rockies, it was all gold and silver mining. I mean, that's what the main industry used to be. And it's an old mining town. It also has an old opera house from the 1800s. So you're really slipping back into time. And to get there, the road is going into the Rockies, into these beautiful canyons, and it's a small little, a perfect place to like drive to and have an experience getting into the Rockies, into a mining town, and you can go there and have lunch and then come back.
Mhm.
So something like that that goes beyond just your normal, big city kinds of opportunities. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And do a lot of people know about that?
No, not really, because they're going to Vail or
Mm.
Aspen, they're going to these other, which are beautiful, but it's not close to Denver.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful drive. And if you wanted to go a little further from Central City, you go up into Netherland, which is another little tiny hidden ski area. But in the summer, it's just open meadow, and that takes you into Estes Park, um, which is I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie The Shining. Stephen King, the author, wrote a
Yeah.
book called The Shining, and was turned into a movie. And Nicholson was in it. It was a horror film, but the place that it was written about is called the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, and you can stay at this hotel, and it's a haunted hotel. So people go there, and it's again one of those things that you go to, and it's right at the entrance of Estes Park, um, and the Rocky Mountain National Park, and that is all like an hour outside of Denver, all
Mm.
of that. So it's very easy, a fun, kind of a day trip,
Yeah.
very easy.
Was the hotel what the book was based on, or they made it after?
Yes. And the hotel, because Stephen King stayed at that hotel called the Stanley Hotel.
Mhm.
He stayed there, and he had a sense that there was stuff happening. And so that was the location and the inspiration for his book.
Okay, I see. That's, maybe something to add to the itinerary as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they have ghost tours, and
Mhm.
they have seances there. I mean, they've created this whole, like, you know, um, like, I have stayed at that hotel several times, and I was hoping I would see something, and I never did.
Yeah. Maybe the
It's
next time.
Yeah, maybe the next time. But it's a beautiful area, Estes Park,
Mhm.
and it's an old little mountain town. Again, you're getting away from the city, and you're getting into the essence of Colorado, which is people like to do.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe are there any attractions that aren't so spooky that maybe children or families with children would enjoy a lot?
So if you like it, like if you went to Estes Park, there's bike paths that are all around the lakes that are there, and they're very well maintained. The bike rental is right there. And if you wanted to go on paddle boats or rowboats, they have those on the lake. And of course, hiking trails. And that's if you got in a car and you drove out. If you stayed in Denver, there's a park, and it's right downtown. It's called Elitch Gardens,
Mhm.
and it's got roller coasters and all kinds of games and amusement rides and all that kind of stuff. And it's good for kids from ages 3 to 16. I mean, some of the stuff is roller coasters that are, kind of scary, but little for little children too. And then they have the lakes there too, where you can get like a swan paddle boat and swan, paddle on the lake. And so simple things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's right in downtown Denver.
Okay. All right. So what about activities for senior citizens? Are there anything that would be particularly suited for them?
Well, depends upon their activity level. I work with seniors. I was just at Mesa Verde, and I had a senior who had severe scoliosis, and she was able to do the ladders and the stairs going into Cliff Palace, you know. Um, but for seniors, there's the museums, there's a science museum, um, there's the Mint, there's bike rentals if they want to do, bike riding. Um, there's another museum there that's called the Molly Brown. She was one of the people that was on the Titanic that sank,
Yeah.
and she did not. She helped save people, and she lives from Denver. So there's the Molly Brown House, and seniors like to go there because it's a bit of history. And there's a lot of mansions that are around there. There's city tours that they just do a city tour, and it
Mhm.
takes you hop on, hop off kind of a thing,
Mm.
where you can go to like there's a district that is murals. And so all the buildings have painted murals from artists from all different kinds of sectors. And then it will go over to the mansion area where this particular kind of architecture was prevalent during the 20s and 30s. So they have these kind of tours where you can hire a guide that would do that for the day and give you a really thorough introduction to what Denver was like then and what it's like now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A wide range of activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier as well that Denver is a really active city. So are there any specific adventurous things to do there? Something for thrill seekers to look out for.
Um, well, there's rock climbing,
Mm.
and if you've never done rock climbing, they have rock climbing walls that you can go and learn and practice on, and then have a guide take you rock climbing. Matter of fact, I was just talking to my neighbor this afternoon, and in Boulder Canyon, which is because you have Denver, and
Yeah.
then you have Boulder, which is a city that's kind of a college town.
Mm.
And right outside of Boulder, there's tons of rock climbing and mountain biking. So during the summer months, a lot of fishing, um, and swimming, hiking, lots of hiking, and all the trails are you can get bike maps and trail maps at the airport, and it's for the entire state of Colorado. And the bike paths are very clearly marked, and you could go on the highways. You can go from Pikes Peak to Longs Peak. It's a pike peak to peak ride,
Mhm.
which is 14,000 feet, 10 to 14,000 feet. So a very, very high ride if you're an extreme cyclist. If you go into Rocky Mountain National Park, you see cyclists going all the way up to Alpine, um, all the time. There's a bike paths from Denver if you wanted to go over Loveland Pass, if you're that kind of a thrill seeker, cyclist. But if you're coming from a part of the world that isn't at altitude, I don't think I would recommend doing something like that
Mhm.
because it's extremely strenuous and you're at major altitude.
I see.
And
Yeah.
I just, if you're into that, that would be a great. Matter of fact, a lot of these mountain areas are training grounds for world-class cyclists.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so just kind of pick your poison. There's hang gliding, if you're into that kind of thing. It's just a matter of picking what you wanted to do and then going to that location. So in Denver, there's the city, but then right outside of Denver, you have all of these opportunities that you could do
Yeah. Are these far outside of Denver, like a far away drive, or just
within the hour, within
oh,
an
okay.
hour.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Boulder is also nearby.
Yes, Boulder, Fort Collins, and there's another. It's a little further outside of Denver because it's on the other side of Vail. But it would be something that somebody might be interested in doing because you could take the train from Denver to Glenwood Springs, and you go through the canyon of Glenwood Springs, and right where the train depot is, there's hotels, restaurants. You could go there for the day, and there's hot mineral pools from the hot springs
Mhm.
because this area is on a geothermal plane, and so you have a lot of water that's superheated, and so you've got these pools, mineral pools, and also in Glenwood Springs, there's vapor caves that the Ute Indian used to go in and purify. So I mean, there's so much to do. It's you could be here for 2 years and find something every day to do.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So, let's say a tourist has gone to all these attractions and now they're going home, but they wanna pick up some souvenirs to remember their trip by. What would you recommend them getting? Something that would represent the city of Denver.
What would I recommend them getting? Hmm. Well, if they're into, it depends on what they would be into. Um, if they're into clothes, um, there's Rocky Mountain type of vests
Mhm.
and super UV protection, gloves and shirts that they have them probably all over the world now, but this is the standard. Like, this is a UV shirt that I just wear because you're so high in altitude.
Mhm.
Um, but as a souvenir, you know, there's some beautiful books that show the Rocky Mountains. There's a lot of artists that are here that do their own kind of artwork, wood burning things, wood carvings, leaded glass, like little panes of leaded glass that have been handcrafted. There's a lot of crafters that are around, knitted things, quilt making. There's these kind of things that you can find just when you're walking around, just going into a store. Then, of course, the regular, like Rocky Mountain baseball cap
Yeah.
and cowboy hats,
Mhm.
because this is cowboy country. You'll see a lot of horses and, cowboy rodeos. There's rodeos that happen here. And so you have a lot of cowboy type of stuff, cowboy belts, belt buckles that are, very interesting.
Mhm. And for the crafts, is there a particular area where they're really popular or particular artists that people should check out?
Downtown area, you would find the hub, shops that would have this kind of stuff. And it goes beyond, tourists and souvenirs like t-shirts and that kind of stuff. It's really arts and crafts that they have. Yeah.
That's great. And when people are shopping around the city, is haggling something that they should do or bargaining?
No, not really. Um, um, Not really. New York City, definitely yes.
Mhm.
Yes, there's haggling there for sure. And it's just, and I try to teach the people that go there how to haggle, and like if you look at something and you touch it, that's an indication, and they will come over to you. But here there's not much of that. I mean, a lot of stores you go into, they may be having seasonal sales,
Mhm.
and if you see something, you could maybe then say it's 40, like I say, it's 40% off. And then you could say, would you take 50%? There is that kind of a thing, but people usually don't haggle in the Denver area,
A good thing to keep in mind as well, not to bargain with the small artists.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, like just like make sure that you pay them what they ask for, you know. Yeah.
Right, right. And for those people who maybe are looking for the branded things or the UV shirt that you mentioned, where would be the best place or the best shopping mall to go to for
Well,
those?
there's stores all downtown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, big stores that have all of that sporting kind of equipment and needs, because this is where people buy all that. And there are some malls, and I think that there are a couple of stores that are right downtown that have really good bargains. Um, like and they have these like specific names, you know, like TJ Maxx, or you know, this certain name of stores, and they have all of that type of local apparel, you know, outdoor apparel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
usually at a good price. Yeah.
What about outlet malls? Is that a popular thing in Denver?
Not in Denver, outside of Denver, yes.
Okay, I see. And we already talked about this a little bit, but the high season and when to come to the city, and you would recommend the summer and winter, right?
Right,
Okay,
right.
yeah. And would you recommend avoiding the spring or the fall, or still a good time to visit?
It's still a good time. You know, weather is so insane now. You know, you could suddenly in June, when it's supposed to be nice, suddenly there's a blizzard that happens. You know, I mean, weather has gotten so crazy, and there is a season. The spring and the fall, the rates are usually better. So if you're adventuresome and you want to come in the spring or the fall, you might get a better rate. So there's that.
Oh.
And there might be less people. So there's that. I particularly enjoy shoulder season because of that, and because weather is either going to sleep or waking up. And I find that exciting. And but other people, they may want to come just for the big ticket items, you know. So um, but if someone says the only time that I can really do it is in April, well, then they just have to be aware that weather could be really bad, or like really wet or icy or something. So the spring would be the one time I would say just come with caution. Fall would be beautiful,
Mhm.
um, you know, because when the leaves change in the mountains, you've got spectacular colors. It's kind of in the east is the fall foliage. In the east, that's a big time for tourists to go. Um, Here, there's not called fall foliage, but the colors are magnificent. The aspen tree turn golden, bright yellow, golden orange, and the scrub oak are brilliant red. And then you've got the pine trees that are like deep, deep green. So you've got those colors, and they're just, and it's a whole mountain's worth of it. It's the fall is really a beautiful time to come to. So
Yeah.
no, I love it all.
Yeah. I can see why, or I can imagine why. Yeah, so it seems like there's a lot to look forward to in Denver. So how long would you say is the ideal length of stay for a traveler to come?
So if you're coming to Denver and you do want to see some of the things that are outside of the city, I
Mhm.
would say 5 days, you know, 3 to 5 days, because getting in the mountains is the richness of that Denver provides. It's the gateway to the Rockies.
Mhm.
And if you just come to Denver, you see the mountains. You're not in the mountains,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's different. It's different. So I would say 3 to 5 days, you would get a real full experience of the city and of the mountains and
Okay.
nature. Yeah.
And when travelers do come, are there any essential items that they should bring with them?
Yeah, you know, like very good broken in walking shoes,
Mhm.
um, or hiking boots, but broken in, you know, not brand new. And
Mhm. Yeah.
layers of clothing. And if you have any kind of altitude sickness, I know some people bring those bands that they have a magnet on the wrist, and it helps with altitude sickness and also motion sickness. If you're up going in the mountains and you're some people get motion sickness, and this will help.
Mhm.
Um, and Sticks, walking sticks, mountain sticks, hiking sticks.
Okay.
They collapse down. Those are very good, for all ages, because you can be on certain terrain that you just need this extra support. So those would be things I would say, variety of clothes, really good hiking shoes that are worn in, and good socks, like wool socks. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard about those bracelets with the magnets. Might be a good thing to look into. Yeah.
Yeah. And they come like it's like you can buy them where they just slide on,
Mhm.
or they wrap around, you can hook it. But it has a magnet at your wrist, and it helps with the motion sickness.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So maybe we can talk about the neighborhoods in Denver a little bit. So is there a particular place that would be great for nightlife or events?
In Denver, well, pretty much downtown, it holds everything, because you've got downtown Denver with all of that kind of action and that a city has. But then if you go into Aurora or Littleton, it's neighborhoods. So
Mhm.
you've got families and schools and baseball fields for kids, and it's it's very family oriented. So if you came to Denver, and you wanted to do nightlife and go clubbing and comedy clubs and that kind of stuff, it would be downtown.
Okay. Yeah. And what about the shopping spots? Is there a particular shopping street or district?
Along the a lot where the train goes for downtown for travelers and tourists. Yep, that would be the main mall. You have all kinds of stores. You've got like the specialty outdoorsman shops. You've got the bargain kind of stores. You've got high end fashion.
Mhm.
Um, you've got the Victoria's Secret. You've got pretty much everything that's right downtown. All the shopping is pretty normal that you can
Okay.
find. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it seems like downtown is a great place for pretty much everything, right?
It had a major renovation about 20 years ago. Downtown was in really bad shape,
Mhm.
um, really bad shape, and they started to infuse it with condos. They upgraded the baseball stadium. They upgraded the amusement park. They put in museums, the theaters, the walking malls, the artwork. There's artwork all over the city. So you go and you walk by a beautiful picture. They have sound art. So you're walking down the street like the Mint. You just walk and you stop and you can hear tap dancing.
Mhm.
You're like, where? But the tap dancing is a soundscape that is embedded in the sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
So no matter where you go, there's all these wonderful things that are happening. But they infused a lot of money to restore and to build up downtown, because it was really falling apart. So
Yeah.
it's very nice down
Yeah.
there now.
Yeah. So would you say that it's a good place for families to go to now or to stay at?
Downtown Denver, yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Okay.
because it's convenient to everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And what about cheap place to stay?
Um, there, nothing in Denver, nothing in Colorado is cheap anymore.
Okay.
Seriously, everything is pricey. I would suggest that if you have points like Marriott or a Hilton, and you have points, that would be the best starting source to go to, because you can acquire your points, and you know that it's safe and it's all right in the main town. And a lot of them have restaurants, and some have free breakfasts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But a lot of the restaurants down in the on along that the free train area are very kid friendly. And there's also a Meow Wolf there.
Mhm.
Meow Wolf is a interactive museum performance art space, and it's very visual. There's like art projects that are immersive, and music programs and theater, site-specific theater performances, and it's walking distance in within downtown too. It's called Meow Wolf, and yeah, this it's like you almost have to just like pick what you want to do. There's so many things.
Yeah. And since you don't live in Denver, when you come to stay in the city, do you have a favorite place to stay that you would
Um,
recommend?
well, it's a little pricey, but it is historic and it's fantastic. It's called Brown Hotel, the Brown, and um, but I also stay at the Marriott that's right down there. There's several that are down there, and most of them are new and modern and have roof gardens and roof restaurants. So yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Marriott, between the Marriott and the Brown.
Okay, sure. So we are wrapping up the interview a little bit. Just a couple more questions. Yeah. Are there any festivals or special events in the city or even nearby, that tourists should watch out for?
It depends on the season. There's festivals all the time.
Okay.
There's Oktoberfest, so you have the beer festival. Next week there's a Scottish festival. Also next week there's a Renaissance festival. So the summer and the fall have major festivals
Yeah.
in Denver, in that surrounding area close to Denver. Yeah. And then you've got the winter festivals that are in the ski areas, on the other side of the Rockies. So yeah,
Yeah. So these are all annual events.
all the time. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So no matter when you go.
There's always something to do. Matter of fact, there's a yoga festival, that's in two different locations that are in Denver
Mhm.
coming up, So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to wrap up, I guess, just something that you mentioned earlier, but tipping is common in the United States, right? And
Yes.
that applies to Denver as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Every service, a tip is expected.
Mhm.
And the tipping has increased. A lot of places, as you probably know, that you have the bill and then you can choose your tipping amount, 18, 20, 25%, whatever. And so the minimum is 18%. I usually just do between 20 and 25%.
Okay.
Um, and some countries, tipping is not part of their culture. Like people from England, tipping is not part of their culture, and so people when they come here, they don't tip, and I have to explain that it's part of our culture,
Yeah.
because these people are service people, and their wages are minimal, and they depend upon tips to survive, really. And so everybody, I even when at the hotels, when I leave a hotel, I leave money for the maid.
Hmm.
I tip there, I mean, just that's just part of it. That's part of
Yeah.
our culture.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, that's a
everyone.
great thing for tourists to know. So I'm from the Philippines, and it's not always a practice that everyone applies.
Right, exactly. And simply because you're from a country that doesn't do it, this is now you're in, like, when in Rome.
Yeah.
Uh, so I try to encourage that, and it's like people just don't want to like do that.
Yeah, well, maybe after this interview goes live, more people will be aware.
Yeah, yeah, and that's throughout the whole United States.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was the last question. So thank you so much for your time and all the useful information that you've shared with us. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers? Encourage anyone to visit Denver?
Just come to Denver any time of the year. It's a magnificent city. It's Denver Airport is easy to get into. And once you're in the city, you just like use that as your hub and then go from, go to this mountain, go to this town, go to this valley, go, come down to Colorado Springs. I mean, it is a wonderful, wonderful environment and fun for kids 2 years old to 102 years old. It's
Yeah.
super city.
Okay, that's great. So, Stephanie, thank you again for your time. We're looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll be in touch with you.
Yes. Okay,
Okay. All
bye.
right. Thank you.